Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, we are going to be looking at writing and story point of view. So this is the point of view that the story is going to be viewed from. So if it's first person, it's going to be writing in the I. If it's second person, it's going to be you. Third person omniscient, you're going to use he, she, or the character's names. And you're going to get omniscient means that viewpoint you're going to look through the view of multiple characters in the same scene, which is very different from third person limited, where we see basically from one character's perspective, but it's still written in the third person, so he, she. So I'm just going to talk about second person briefly in this video, then I'm going to talk about first person, and I'm going to give a quick example of how this can be done and how this can be used well. So, first things first. Let's look at second person. Advantages. None. There are no advantages. Disadvantages. Everything. If you're writing in the you find an empty room. You walk inside. You see what looks like a staircase leading into a dim basement. What do you do next? What does that sound like? If you said choose your own adventure, that would be correct. Pretty much, if you are not writing Choose Your Own Adventure, you don't even want to look at this. Maybe you're a writing prodigy and you'll be the first person to sell 1,000,000,000 novels from the second person point of view, but it would be a great shock to me. So, let's move on from second person. We're going to look at first person here. Okay, so advantages. It feels like a natural mode of storytelling. So what do I mean by that? Normally when you tell a story about something that happened to you, you use I. I went to the store, I bought some strawberries, a dragon burst through the wall and attacked me, and so on and so forth. It allows the reader to get a better feel for the character. It feels close and personal. So we get to see his thoughts, we get to see his reactions, we get to feel everything he or she feels. The writer may also be able to make use of an unreliable narrator. Let's say your main character has a prejudice against some other character. That character might come in and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And then your main character thinks, "What a jerk." So that's their thought, and it's completely valid, but the reader will understand that there's a little bit more here than meets the eye. So you can use an unreliable narrator, and this has been done extremely well by authors in the past, so definitely an advantage to first person. Disadvantages. You are limited in scope as you cannot see outside that point of view character's vision. That main character basically has to see all the important action to make up your plot. If he can't see it or she can't see it, then the reader can't see it. Otherwise, you're cheating and you're breaking the first person perspective, which is going to piss off more than a few readers. So, please keep it limited in scope. I know it's a disadvantage, which means you need to have your main character be the one doing the heavy lifting. If you have a huge obstacle and your main character asks some secondary character, gives them money and says, "Oh, can you go do this for me?" and they come back a chapter later and say, "Oh yeah, I got it done," then it feels like nothing happened. The main character needs to be the one doing the heavy lifting. Another disadvantage is that if the reader does not empathize with the main character, if they don't like the main character, or the main character's voice that you're reading in, then you're sunk. The reader will not continue to read, and they probably won't look at anything else you write. It may also slow the pacing. So if you're looking at one character's inner thoughts too much, it could slow things down, and you might not be getting through the plot as quickly as you need to. You may also feel the need to cheat. So let's say you're writing a mystery story, and you have the main character. He's got this crazy idea that he thinks might help solve the crime. So you say, "I got an idea. I don't know how I thought of it. I called everyone together, and I told them my plan." Chapter ends. It feels like cheating because, really, you should be saying what the actual plan is, but but you don't want to take away from that surprise factor. So it can encourage the writer to cheat a little bit, and sometimes, in some cases, you really do need to do this to maintain the proper flow of the story, and you do need some surprises and twists and turns, but it can feel a little bit cheap sometimes. So I'm going to give a good example of first person done well. I'm just going to read one short paragraph. It is from the first novel in the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher, and it is called Stormfront. The sample chapter is available on Jim Butcher's website, and I believe as well on Amazon for free. So if you're interested, you can check out the first chapter, and then I'd highly recommend reading further. So this is the end of the first chapter in the Dresden Files. My name is Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden. Conjure by it at your own risk. I'm a wizard. I work out of an office in Midtown Chicago. As far as I know, I'm the only openly practicing professional wizard in the country. You can find me in the Yellow Pages under Wizards. Believe it or not, I'm the only one there. So, just in that short paragraph, we learn a couple things. Another advantage to the first person is that if your main character feels like it, they can basically talk to the reader. Harry Dresden already knows his name. If you're writing in third-person perspective, you can't say his name was Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden. He was a wizard. He works out of an office in Midtown Chicago. That would be called an info dump, where you just shove a bunch of information at the reader. It's very cheap, and it's looked down upon, basically. So, in this case, the main character is talking to the reader and kind of showing his sarcastic side. You can see at the end here, believe it or not, I'm the only one there. So you can see already from the end of the first chapter that he's going to be a bit of a smart ass. He also says he's the only openly practicing professional wizard in the country. So you know they're living in a world where wizards of some sort exist, most of which are not known to society. You know he's going to be a big shaker and mover because it is first-person perspective. If he was not as powerful as he was and able to do as much of the heavy lifting as he does in this book, then it wouldn't work quite so well. But he's a big player in the wizarding community. Gets bigger in later novels, of course, but either way, he's got lots of raw power, so he can affect his own situation, which is very, very important in first person. So, those are your advantages and disadvantages of the first person perspective. You can see here that it looks like he's writing his own story. Charles Dickens did this a lot in his novels, where he'd have his main character basically become a writer later in his life and say that they're writing their own story. So when you have the characters reading out their own narrative, then that feels like first person here. But in any case, those are second person. Don't look at it unless you're writing Choose Your Own Adventure, and first person. So that's all for now. In the second video, we're going to look at third person omniscient and third person limited. So thanks for watching.